that's really the power of your network. So you can have a lot of friends, right? I mean, I have friends that, I've grown up with. We chat about different things. We meet and do different things. We talk about sports. We meet at events. But a lot of them do not know what I can do, right? Or a lot of them don't know exactly what I do, So that's how the network is different, right? Your network knows who you're about. They know what you can do. And because maybe your network might be big, and because you're in people's network, when things come up and someone is needed to do something, because you're in the network, they can point you to do that, all right? Or they can say,
okay,
you will know someone who can do that. So for me, network is really around, because sometimes we also talk about your network is your net worth, right? So again, people who know what you can do, people who know your abilities, who know your capabilities, and can recommend things for you and things like that. So, I mean, that's the way we think about it at Ghana Think. So it's not just that we know each other and we are friends, but,
okay.
because I know you can do things, I have you do things for me. There are people in my network who can do this, who can do that, who know this, who know that person. So for me, that's really what the network is about, before
Wow.
we get into how you expand your network.
Wow. Wow. Great. So thanks so much, Ato. For those who just joined us, we are on Juxtapose, and I want to take time to let you know the people you are listening to. Now, these are amazing people I have so much respect for. They've achieved so much in life. I'll start with the lady. She's Paulina Crunchy Ajiman, Mrs. She's a lecturer and a communications practitioner with close to a decade of professional and academic practice in communications. Currently with the Faculty of Public Relations, Advertising and Marketing at the Ghana Institute of Journalism in Accra, and pursuing a Doctor of Philosophy in political public relations, at the University of Westminster, London. So that's Paulina for you. And for Ato is a social entrepreneur. He has to explain that. A consultant, social media influencer, and blogger. He works and consults in the youth and technology spaces primarily. He studied at MIT. Hey, it's not the MIT, the one we have in Accra, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and Stanford University. He studied civil engineering and management disciplines, respectively. He's a director at Ghana Think Foundation, which mobilizes and organizes talent for primary benefit of Ghana. He's a member of the Global Shapers Alumni, part of the World Economic Forum community. He has consulted for various organizations, including the World Bank, on youth employment and the International Trade Fair on the Chocothon program. He worked at Rankad as a product manager, building new revenue services off its platform. He worked at Google as a program manager, building sustainable tech communities in Africa. He speaks and has spoken at various international forums, including the World Bank Diaspora Trade Forum, African Business Conference at Harvard, and the World Economic Forum on Africa in Cape Town. He co-founded Museke, I hope I got that right, museke.com.
Yep.
And African music websites and blogs at mightyafrican.blogspot.com. Now, for
I
those
just
of
wanted to
us,
say quickly that there are multiple MITs in Ghana. There's the Medina one. There's an Infantsiman one, which
you're
is
telling me,
opposite UCC. There are multiple MITs in Ghana.
but you're talking about the Boston, huh?
Yeah.
Wow,
I went to the real one, the most
real
popular
one. How can one man alone go to 2 Ivy League schools? What kind of human are you? Really?
Actually, the funny thing is, we like to call all these schools Ivy League schools, but I think because of how good they are known as Ivy League. They are referred to as Ivy League, but they're not actually Ivy League schools.
Okay.
MIT and Stanford are not Ivy League schools, but what's it called? Yale and Harvard and Princeton and are Ivy League schools. And maybe just to say something quick about that,
Okay.
because sometimes people say that your network can be very rich or, you know, very valuable based on the places that you've been to, right? You've been to like universities like MIT or Stanford or worked in different organizations. And sometimes people use that as, you know, if you've been to those places, then, you know, network would be much better. But I mean, for me, I've met several Ghanaians, some of whom still live here in Ghana and work here in Ghana, who have not been to institutions like that and still have very, very valuable networks, right? So, I mean, it's because of the kinds of people that advise them, they hang out with, the kinds of opportunities they go after, the kind of events they attend, both physically and both virtually, the kinds of communities they join online, the kind of people they follow on Twitter and engage on Twitter. So it's not just following, right? But actually engaging in different platforms. So to give an example, I mean, I live in the US for a number of years, and before I returned to Ghana in 2011, I used to use Twitter to engage a lot of people like me in different African countries, right? So people who are tech savvy, working on different startups, working with different tech communities. So I engaged a lot of people on Twitter. I got to know a lot of people on Twitter. So even when I first started traveling to different African countries, I knew so many people there because of Twitter, right?
Wow.
So, you know, I mean, you can make your network valuable anywhere you are just with the power of the internet, right?
And here I
let's
was thinking that,
engaging.
oh, these guys, you know, they've been to all the best schools, so you know they are alums. They call them alums. We call them alumni here. Their alums are very powerful networks and all that. And he's so privileged. See, he worked at Google and Rancard. It's because of where he went. But I'm here. You say something different for the first time.
Yes, yes. And I mean, this is something that we try to push in our bar camps, right? That, you know, you don't need to be in some of those institutions to have similar networks, right? I mean, for me, it's really the power of the internet, and Twitter is so powerful, right? I mean, if you are, it could be, I mean, just to finish off before we go to Paulina. So
Sure.
it could be that you are interested in, I mean, climate change. Climate change is a great example. There are several Ghanaians I know who have been able to build great networks simply by engaging in climate change conversations on Twitter and on Facebook, right? And even some of those opportunities and the network that they've built has allowed them to be able to travel to go and talk about climate change in different places. So the internet is so powerful in building a network and continue to expand it and making that work for you.
This is interesting. I hear you talk about meeting people, going to events, social media engagements, not just be following people on social media, but actually engaging them. Now, you'd agree with me that you're a Ghanaian. I mean, you grew up in Ghana. You are an Audadie, a proud one at that.
Yes.
Always making noise as if it's the only school in Ghana. Anyway, and you'd agree with me that in Ghana, there's this notion that, and in fact, we've been cultured actually to believe that once you live a peaceable and quiet life, so you don't go talking anywhere. You know, you go to a place and you see someone talking, you know, you hear people say things like that. So anytime you are forthright, you want to go, you know, meet people and interact with them, people are like, you know what I mean? And what can you say about that?
Yeah.
And one other example I want to give, on almost 99.9 social media groups like WhatsApp, etc., you have so many dormant people. They see everything, they read everything, but they do not comment. And you wonder if it's a disease that we need a vaccine for or something, I don't know. Tell me something, Ato. And how is it affecting our networking life?
Yeah, I mean, it's really affecting our networking life. I think, you know, maybe, but even before, I could say I've definitely learned to network a lot and be outgoing and go and meet people when I go to events, you know, talk to strangers. Maybe because I
So
spent a lot of years.
if I can just cut you there.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't just go to events. Oh, Makwaba, I've been there and come. but you actually go to events with a purpose. So you come back and take stock and say, hey, I went here and I
Yes.
networked or I met this person.
Yes,
I'm doing
definitely.
something today.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other important thing is, that when we go to some of these events, we actually want to meet people and tell people about what we are doing so we can get more support. One of my friends who went to Stanford with me used to call me a social animal, in the sense that I'm always going to social events, always going to parties, always meeting people. And I think this is something that I kind of started doing in Presec. So it wasn't something that, maybe when I got to the US, I started to do more of that. So, definitely it is, culturally in Ghana, it's not something a lot of people do. But I think it's something that we need to change. And again, it's always about finding people who think similarly, who understand these things similarly, and then working with them to grow those numbers so that it becomes more acceptable everywhere, right? So whether we will be called too known or whatever it is, the more people do it and the more people see people do it, it becomes normalized and it becomes acceptable, right? So I think that is something that we just have to push more. And especially if we believe that is a better way to do things, we can't give up because of culture. We can't give up because of tradition. That's the way I see it, right? So I think it's something that we have to be intentional about. Yeah.
So you mentioned the fact that you've heard people say you're a social animal, you like going to programs, etc. That was quite polite. You actually have people tell you, oh, Nishi, yeah, he has nothing doing. And that can be very rude, and
Yeah, but
especially you ask
okay.
yourself, so how are we supposed to network? And our next segment we're just going to right now is going to talk about the practical ways of networking, how to actually do it.
Yeah.
But before then, I just still want to hit on this cultural thing,
Yeah.
because you go to a conference and you meet up somebody, want to shake hands, and they look at you twice. Do I know you? And how do you break those barriers?
I think that's very interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to think about people that I met at conferences and didn't really want to chat much with me.
No, I mean, you are a very exciting personality. So who do you want
Yeah,
to
in fact, the cases I'm coming up with are maybe ladies who thought I was going to hit on them.
That was one thing I was going to talk about. You see my notes.
But I mean that at least that's not my intention. So I think the yeah, it's definitely something, especially the Onishi thing. I think it's about purpose, right? Especially if you understand the value of networking, you understand why you're trying to do it, you understand what you're trying to gain. You wouldn't mind what people say, right? That Onishi and things like that. It's almost like getting to the point where I would tell everyone around me to stop littering, and I don't care if they insult me because it's just important for me to tell them to stop littering, right? So I think it's something, it has to be purpose driven, right? You have a purpose, you have goals that you're trying to meet. And especially if you have people around you who are trying to do the same thing, then it is easier. So for me, that's the key thing, right? So even your network itself should be supportive in what you are trying to do. Again, coming back to the friends thing, like some friends might sit somewhere and say the onishi, yeah. But if people in your network understand what you're about, what you're trying to do, they wouldn't say that, right? And you need that support to continue to do what you're doing. And when you meet your friends, you can talk about other things, right? So I think we have to have a certain mindset around this. We have to have the purpose around it and find people who support this so that eventually more people would understand and join. Yeah.
Wow, this is amazing. This is so exciting. Now let's look at practicals. Paulina, how to do, to support your point about ladies thinking you're going to hit on them. I remember Ethel Kofi. She actually was raving mad some years ago on Facebook, and she actually posted, "Why Ghanaian men? Why? When a lady calls you out for lunch, it's not because she wants to do anything with you, it's just because she wants to talk business." You know, And
Yeah.
it's quite an issue, trust me. It's quite an issue. Now, I've gone to a program, sanguine or partial phlegmatic as I am, I'm able to easily make friends. You are that exciting character in the room. What next? Okay, let me rephrase well. So I brush my teeth in the morning, make sure I'm smelling good, put on my clothes well, and then I approach somebody. What next?
Well, I'll say that take a genuine interest in people. For me, that's where it starts. So I have met you. Hello, Harold. What do
Hi.
you do?
Mm,
Just listen. Take a genuine interest in people, what they do, why they do what they do, those kinds of questions. But if you meet people and you as though you want something from them, but if you meet someone and one, you are generally nice to people, not because of what you can get from them, but you treat them the way you want to be treated, then that is where for me networking starts. So I met you, like you are saying, I greeted you at the event. Or what do you do, Harold? And then you start telling me about what you do. Sometimes what people do is that they ask you the question, but then they tune off. So you are speaking, but they really are not listening. And again, one of the mistakes that a lot of people do in networking sessions is that they are waiting for you to finish speaking so that they speak too. But that is not engaged listening. You get what I mean?
okay.
What should happen is that, let's say that you tell me that you are into, say, IT. Oh, wow, IT. What exactly do you do in IT? And genuinely be interested in what you are saying. You get what I mean? So it's not just about finding out what people do and moving on. No, be genuinely interested in people. Be genuinely nice to people. Again, sometimes not because you may need them in future, but for me, I think that it's nice to be nice just for the sake of being nice, If we all treated people the way we want them to treat us, then the world will be a better place. So for me, the first thing is to be generally nice to people and be genuinely interested in them and in what they do. That way you're able to glean a lot more information from them than if you brush them off. And for one of the things I found out is that there are people who you may meet them today and it may seem as though they have nothing to offer you, but you have no idea where you next meet them and need their help or their service. So when you are genuinely nice to them, when you are genuinely interested in what they do, then it comes back to you. Let me cite an example. So this is what I do in all of my classes. The first time I meet any class, especially the advanced classes, so if it's a weekend class, usually they are student workers. And if it's a master's class, then usually they are workers. So the first time I meet my students, I ask them to tell me what they do every year. You know what happens? I get to know where everybody works so that if I need something from someone in an organization, I know where to go. You get it? But if I was genuinely listening to them, but I was doing it just for the fun of it, then how will I know who to speak to when I need something? You get it? And then when you
seem to be taking all the fun out of everything. Please go ahead.
When you genuinely find out what they do, ask questions. So why this and not that? So when you say this, what do you mean?
Okay, so before Atu comes in, there's a very thin line between being condescending and then feigning interest. A very thin line. And you risk actually flirting with that line if you're not very careful.
I think it depends on how you go about it. So And for me as a communications person, you know that communication is a whole lot more about the non-verbals than the verbal aspects of communication. So it's believed that about 70% of communication is really non-verbal. So if your tone is condescending, then indeed it will come out as condescending. But if you are genuinely interested in somebody, I think that it shouldn't come off as being condescending. It depends on how you put yourself out there, the non-verbal cues that you give. Sometimes the tone of voice, the pitch of voice, you know, all of those things count. So I think that if you are genuinely interested in something, you are genuinely interested, you are genuinely curious, it shouldn't come across as condescending.
Okay, actually, let me take you on back to social media. So you're saying that you've met quite a
Harold,
chunk of
could I
people.
say something quick about practical
Sure.
networking before I take this question about social media? So, I mean, normally when we go to events, especially if you've gone to a conference with a lot of people, you have your business cards and you're trying to collect as many business cards as possible. For me, I don't really carry business cards anymore. So that's by the way. But so I realized in the past that, you know, trying to collect business cards, as many of them, was not very helpful for me, because I'll take all these business cards, I'll put them in my bag or in my pockets. I get home, I put them somewhere else. And sometimes I will not see that business card for another 3 months. Or another 2 months. So what I think people should focus on more when they are networking and trying to meet people is don't focus so much on collecting a lot of business cards. Focus on having conversations with the people that you are meeting to understand what they do, what they are interested in, what you could do with them, and then take that contact away, right? So instead of taking 15 business cards, take 5 or 6 phone numbers in your phone, right? Where you know that this is what I'm going to talk to this person about tomorrow or in 2 months when I'm ready to talk to that person. So that also means that you should become great at, you know, taking contacts. Sometimes there is something like an app called Camcard that you can use to quickly take someone's card information into your phone. So that's my advice, right? Focus on the conversations, pick people that you're going to talk to later, and then follow up with them, because those other 10 business cards that you didn't take, those 5 or 6 people can probably help you get to those people. The second thing, and for me, a really good trick with networking, and to be able, because it's one thing having conversations, meeting people and chatting, and then actually really have them be part of your network and help you. And I think it's always good to find out what is something in common with that person, right? So Paulina is talking about what do you do, which is important. But sometimes it's good to figure out the person you are talking to, do they support Manchester United like you? The person you are talking to, did they go to Presec like you? Do they like the kind of food that you like, right? Do they like the kind of movie that you like? So a lot of the times when I'm having conversations with new people, I try to quickly get out of the whole work environment, because a lot of the people that you are talking to or you meet, they talk about work all the time. So trying to change the conversation a bit for them to talk about something that they really love makes them remember you, right? It really makes them remember you. So it's not just I met this person who is doing this with this organization, but he was interested in something that I'm really interested in. So in your conversations, try to get to that point, something that is in common with you. It helps you remember them well. It helps them remember you well, so that when you reach out to them, they want to give you an ear.
Now, you're saying we shouldn't carry business cards because we've been cultured to be a professional businessman, have a business card, have a letterhead, have this, have that. Are you trying to debunk these things?
Well, I'm from the tech space. We are from the tech space, right? We like disruption. We like innovation.
You color outside the lines. Paulina, tell me something from the com space.
Yes, we are not, you know, the traditional bureaucratic things, you know, all of those things. I mean, I'm not saying that you should not carry business cards. I mean, it's good if you have them and you use them. For me, I don't see them as important. right?
Wow.
Because of what I also said, because I want to take contacts. It's not that I've taken your business card and then, like 2 months later, 1 year later, you've not heard from me, right? I'm more interested in what can I do with you? What can I talk with you about in the future? And
So
let me take
actually
the contact.
connecting,
Yes.
actually
Connecting.
connecting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so if I get what the two of you are saying, if I go to one conference and I'm able to make a connection with just one person, it's far weightier than collecting 200 business cards.
Well, one person is not a lot. So let's do a bit more than one.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
So now practically.
Yeah, I mean, just to give an example, when we have bar camps, because bar camps are very focused on networking, right?
Okay.
I think sometimes in the middle of the event, we ask people, how many new people have you met today? And then some people will be like 1, 3. They'll be like, okay, by the time you leave here, take 5 contacts, right? So, so one is obviously small, right? I mean, let's look at maybe 3 or 5 or 6 if you're in a place with like 100 people. So those connections for me are more important than taking 200 business cards that will just be lying somewhere and you wouldn't act on. Yeah.
Very well. Paulina, practically, how can I make a connection with someone I have no clue about? This person. How do I break the ice? How do I start a conversation? Really? Maybe you can call that pickup lines.
I think that it's smile, be genuine. Hello, how are you? It's a little things when it comes to networking. It's nothing really out of the ordinary, out of space. No, it's the ordinary things. Hello, how are you? And you smile and be approachable.
Let me practicalize it.
Okay.
Good morning, sir. Please, I am a graduate of University of Ghana, and I heard you talking. Please, I want to come and see your office so that please we can start something. I can do anything. I want a job. This is how a typical Ghanaian is cultured. We don't know anything about confidence. We don't know anything about being bold to speak your mind. How should I go about this?
Well, I think that you can still do all that, the Ghanaian thing, get your foot in the door, and then when you go into the meeting, present what you can do. You see, sometimes the mistake we make with networking is that we make it about the other person, because usually they have something that we want. But you need to also be able to put forth something that you can do for the person. For example, you meet Ato. Ato seems to have everything together.
And knows everybody.
Yeah. And knows everybody. But there might be something that you can do for Ato, which he will appreciate. It's, for me, one of the ways that you can get anybody. And I say, for example, that sometimes take people to lunch. He or she is a big person, but, oh, hello, say, I want to have a conversation with you over lunch. Some of the people—
Does that work in Ghana?
Yes. We go and eat fufu.
No,
So
be real.
when we say lunch, we are not talking about going to Kempinski and things like that.
Kempinski,
No. That's some of the big people I know. I'll say, oh, let's go and eat. I know you like fufu, and that's what Ato said. You need to have a point of connection. You get it? Something that you know that you like in common. So if you know that, oh, this person is interested in that kebab joint at the University of Ghana, then you go and get kebab together, that kind of thing. So it has to be that not only are they offering you something, but you also are offering them something. You get what I mean? So what is it that you can do for that person? Maybe Ato is organizing an event. you can help with logistics, or you can go there early and help with setting the place up. So that's the way to connect with him. That way he knows that genuinely you are interested in him beyond just what he can offer you. But you also have something, you bring something to the table. So for me, that is where it starts. Speak to people, find out, like we have said, the points of connection, and then based on that, find out ways that you can help them so that they also can help you. Because again, let's remember that networking is a two-way street. It's not just about what you are benefiting, but what the other person can also get from the relationship. So that will be it for me.
At a practical breaking ice before I come to
the social media question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, so the case that you gave of the students from Legon, coming up to someone,
and all apologies to Legonites.
So I think one thing that works, or that will be good, is when you're coming up to someone, especially if you've heard someone speak in the scenario that you gave, you probably want to say that, oh, you said something that really resonated with me, or that I agreed with, or I disagreed with, right? So that's also another way to connect. I mean, if you are me, depending on the person you're talking to, and you don't take things too seriously, and you came to disagree with me, I want to learn. I want to hear what you have to say so I can see what I can learn, right? So I think it's always around the point of connection. And just to buttress Paulina's point about you might be coming to see me about something that you might need from me, but think through what you can do for me, right? Because especially for me, I meet so many people, and over the years, people just reach out to me in the blue, out of the blue, saying that I want you to mentor me. I've heard of you. My friend told me about you. And I tell them that, sorry, I have so many people I'm unofficially mentoring. So I definitely don't have the time to mentor you. But you let me hear you out and see what I can do to help, right? So again, if all these people are talking to me about things, I'm looking for connections. I'm looking for things that I could also benefit from. And that's how I might choose who I mentor, right? So that the connection thing is very, very key.
Wow. Okay, now fuse this with the social media question. I want each of you to share with me 3 huge hits or successes that networking brought you that ordinarily you wouldn't have been able to achieve. I want to see how relevant this thing is and how real it is. So I know you have many. Pauline, I know you have 1,000. 3.
Yeah.
Or just one that comes to mind.
Okay, so I'll start. I mean, I think for me personally, since 2015, when I left my job with Rankard, my decision was I wanted to work for myself and take consultancy gigs, right? So, I mean, most of the major consultancy things I've done since then are pretty much through networking. It was, and again, like I said, for me, it's more who knows what you can do is very important, right? Because if there's an opportunity and you're in someone's network and they see and they think you can do it, they would let you know, right? So that's just clear one, just on jobs and pay, work and where my money comes from, all of those things, key. Secondly, I think maybe just for me, the kind of person I am, like if I travel to places, I really want to meet people or hang around people. I'm less interested in going to tourist sites, right? So if for instance, when I went to Rwanda for the first time, due to the kind of networking I had done in the past, I knew different people who could help me do different things in Rwanda. In fact, maybe a great example would be the first time I went to Johannesburg. There's a place in Johannesburg called Hillbrow, and there are a lot of Ghanaians and Nigerians there, but also because of the way Hillbrow is quite dangerous, right? It's quite dangerous. If you've heard of like the whole crime thing in Johannesburg, but because of my networking, I knew someone who was from Johannesburg and, wait for it, was willing to go to Hillbrow with me.
Wow.
Right? For me to see Hillbrow and things like that, right? So I have other friends in Johannesburg who would not go to Hillbrow with me, but due to my networking, I had someone who would go to Hillbrow with me because I wanted to go to Hillbrow and see what it was about. And I would also feel safe with that person, right? So you can think of like safety and security. You can think of like job and, work opportunities. These are real things around networking.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Back to the social media thing. So I follow Kidi, I follow Samin, I follow His Excellency Baumia, I follow all these huge people, for example.
Yeah.
How do I mean, they receive 1,000 messages and all that. Probably I should ask, how can I stand out among the messages I will probably send to them?
Yeah, but
is it luck? Is it some grace or favor?
But what are you trying to do with them? Number one. That's the key thing you have to answer for yourself. What are you trying to do with them? And then if you're trying to do that thing with them, it's the best way to send them, mention them on Twitter when because of how popular they are, 100 other people are mentioning them on Twitter the same day, right? So, I mean, sometimes you have to be a bit tactful with the way you engage. So an easier thing would be to, instead of maybe mentioning them in something, after they have posted something, right, go and reply to that. Because
now, a typical example, if I can cut you, is when the president is doing his what we famously call fellow Ghanaians.
Yes.
You actually see people say, Akufo-Addo, my road is not fixed. And is that the right forum? And I mean, it sounds a bit cynical.
Well, I mean, if someone came to say that, they're not saying it just for Akufo-Addo. They are saying it for others to see. And for those who follow Akufo-Addo, who can probably point this out to Akufo-Addo later, the next day in person, or the next week in a meeting to know, right? So sometimes it's not about Akufo-Addo seeing. I mean, just think about Sarkodie, for instance, and the whole SAC Nation. All the SAC Nation guys are following everything Sarkodie is doing. In fact, sometimes you can even post about Sarkodie, not to mention Sarkodie, they'll come and find you and talk about it, okay? So sometimes because there are these people around, if you're just talking about popular people or famous people or celebrities in this sense, right? Because of people who engage these folks, if you are pointing out something that is of interest to that celebrity, it will probably get to them. But again, we have to be tactful in how we do it, right? So the time that they've posted something, they are probably, maybe just looking for reactions.
Okay.
Right? Like if they've posted something, I'm sure they'll go back to see what the people have to say about what I posted. That is the points that you could probably get them, more so than mentioning them in your own post. So that's just an example, right? So you just have to be tactful about how we engage. And then again, on social media, if they have so many followers, then maybe that is not the best way to do it, right? Maybe figure out someone who is close to that person that you can talk to, then you can then relate to that person, right? And one thing I see people do on social media that maybe sometimes helps is they will say, mention the celebrity in the comments so that they get to see. Why would they say that? They say that because the celebrity is literally, they are being mentioned hundreds or thousands of times, sometimes in one day. They can't read everything, right? So the more maybe like you mentioned Sarkodie in a certain post and people are helping you, then it will grab his attention. Right?
Paulina, you must surely disagree with what he's saying. Please tell me something.
Let me disappoint you. let me start from the point about things that networking has done for me. So I agree with that too. I have gotten contracts because somebody mentioned it to me that, oh, I know you can do this. You get it. So that will be one. And then I think just a few months ago, someone sent me a text saying that they want to collaborate with GIJ for a project. And somebody in my network, I mean. So I said, okay, let me refer you to the right person. You know what has happened? It has become a project between GIJ, UNDP, and Ghana Statistical Service. So this whole thing that we talk about, it looks as though it's a joke. My current scholarship for my PhD, that's how I got it, through networking. So somebody knew somebody who could get me the kind of scholarship that I was looking for. So that for me is how networking has helped me. There are countless times that, and maybe because I'm a teacher too, but there are countless times that I have gone to places where people know you, and because they know you, you get a more speedy service than other people will get. For us Christians, we probably call it grace, but knowing the right people is important, and it opens doors for you that ordinarily may have taken longer or would not have opened at all. So that's it. On the issue of the social media, for me, I think that, like Ato says, a lot of times these celebrities and people in authority, they are getting so many mentions that they may not even read. For example, I'm trying to do a research on sentiment analysis on the president's Twitter posts, whether he actually reads, because if you are reading, then you are getting feedback on what's happening based on what you are. But consistently, I am finding that maybe somebody in charge of communication is not really following what is happening. So there's a lot of missteps when it comes to communication, especially for me on the president's Twitter handle, because sometimes you tweet about something when there is a raging issue in Ghana, he probably has not tweeted about. So that said, the mentions may not get you what you want, but if you know somebody who is close to them, for example, I'm looking for a document at the Ministry of Information. If I mention the Minister of Information in a tweet because I follow him, he may not get me that document. But if I know somebody close to him who I can speak to get me that information, that is what I'll do, rather than mention them in a post on Facebook or tweet at them on Twitter. So I think that for some of these relationships, you may probably need to go outside of social media to get them to pay attention to you. Again, if the person is not necessarily a celebrity, but a high profile person.
But in Ghana, everybody's a celebrity.
Hey, then I'm a celebrity, I had no idea.
Just appear on a poster somewhere in Charlie or a star.
That's it.
You know?
If the person is a high profile person, again, we come back to the connection, the matter of connection. You need to be able to show an interest in what they do. So if they tweet something or they post something on Facebook, do you engage? Do you retweet? Do you reply? You know, have a conversation with them based on their interest, the things that they are interested in, which you also are interested in. So it comes back again to the connection. That is how you get noticed. So if consistently you are engaging with them, then when you send that DM, they know that, oh, I have engaged with this person a number of times, so I know them. Okay. Rather than
so, while you are wrapping up there, I want to mention that anyone who has a question can raise your hands using the feature on Zoom, and we'll invite you to ask a question. Those on Facebook and other streaming platforms, type in your question in the comments, and then we'll pick them up and then respond to them appropriately. I want to ask a question. You still make it sound so easy, but tell me, I want to tie two questions together. How do I avoid messing up a great and golden opportunity? And two, what are some no-nos about networking? Who's going first? For 3 points.
Okay. No, I mean, I think for the golden opportunity bit, I don't know if we need some context, but maybe to paint a picture. I don't know.
So for example, this great person I've probably been tagging and then, retweeting and all that. I finally had an opportunity to give me the audience, and I'm probably either starstruck or I wasn't too prepared for that opportunity.
Yeah. So I think the starstruck would hurt. Because if you already have your questions in mind and you're starstruck and you forget them, then you're in trouble. But
trust me, it happens a lot.
Yeah. No, I think for something like that, again, just back to the connection, So especially if you've been following someone a lot, try to engage them in different ways. Probably like whatever you might ask the person might be something that is not common, hopefully, right? Because again, it's about remembering, because people like this meet a lot of people, right? So it's about them being able to remember you. So striking a connection. Sometimes it could be as easy as cracking a joke, right? Cracking a joke that makes them laugh. It's like, oh, I've not really heard that one, that kind of thing. So,
but how do I avoid being cocky or appearing cocky? And you get what I mean?
Okay, so I think you're talking a lot about this thin line things, but for me, especially the kinds of people that we are talking about, they can appreciate confidence.
Okay.
Right? They can appreciate confidence. They can see the difference between confidence and being cocky. Right? Unless you just come out as being flatly disrespectful, right? But we can fix that from what are some of the things that Paulina has said around smiling and verbal communication. For instance, let's say your chance to meet this person was with a number of people, right, who were around him or her as they were speaking. So as the person is speaking, they are looking at everyone, right? Maybe you're nodding your head, you're giving some verbal communication that, at least creates some kind of a connection so that later on when you get the opportunity to talk to them, you can kind of continue from there, right? So
if I'm hearing you right, you strike the nail when it's hot. You don't wait for another opportunity. It may go cold.
Yes, I would say so. But I mean, it's so maybe we need to talk a little bit about confidence, right? Know what you're about. I mean, I think we talked about purpose before. If you are purposeful in that sense, you know what you're about, you know what you're good at, you know what you can talk about, so if that is what you are talking about, you know that you can speak about it authoritatively, right? So I think that can, help solve some of the starstruck and the confidence. I mean, seriously, growing up, a lot of the times when I would meet a lot of celebrities, I want to take pictures with them all the time, but even then, like there still was something I wanted to be able to talk to them about, or I could talk to them about, right? Sometimes you grow out of that. You become more confident, right? That you can engage people and things like that. So I think maybe that's something that takes time to build. But obviously, as we talk about this and we see that it's important, we take the time to build it.
Okay. Paulina, how do I avoid messing up a golden opportunity? How do I prevent appearing as cocky or overconfident or being a snub?
Well, for me, I think that, like I just said, you should have the reason why you want to meet them at the top of your mind always. So you have your elevator pitch ready. That is one of the, especially for business people, have your elevator pitch ready. And that should be in, for me, I think even 1 minute is too long, 30 seconds, what you are about and what you are providing, like what you need from them, you know, it should be that quick and crisp. So when you meet them, you know, top of mind, what it is I want to engage with this person about. That way you don't forget what you wanted to engage them on or meet them for. So that for me is the first one. And then I think that sometimes we are too afraid to be confident, to be ourselves, to think that we'll come across to the other person as too
culture.
Oh, sometimes our culture also says that it's the child that knows how to eat, who eats with the elders. So you need to learn some of these things. Yeah, you need to put yourself out there, be confident. You may think that it will come off as cocky, but the other person may appreciate it more. I think that there are too many mousy Ghanaians, like they come up to you and it's as though they want to talk, they don't want to talk, you know, that no. Confidence is important. It is not being cocky. Being cocky is different. So in that case, you know that this person is being cocky, but when the person is confident, I think it's an admirable trait that these people know and accept without saying that the other person is being cocky.
I wanted to say one more quick thing about this, you know, celebrities, famous people, high profile people. Sometimes what we just really need to do is to network with their assistants.
No, you need to repeat that again.
Sometimes what we really need to do is just to network with their assistants.
Because they have their ears.
Sorry?
These assistants have the big man's ear.
Yeah, I mean, those are the people who work with them, right? Those are the people who schedule meetings for them. Those are the people, when they're having meetings, they bring things up. You know, so sometimes just networking with the assistants is really important. I mean, I remember when I went to Davos, you know, very, very, very big high profile event, presidents, you know, CEOs always come there. And I remember I asked the question in one of the sessions, and Katie Couric, who is a very popular media personality in the US, she was very interested in what I had to say. And at the end of the event, she came up to me. And the interesting thing is, she said her assistant should take my details because she knows she is busy and she can't remember me next time or follow up, right? Wow. So sometimes we just have to network with the assistants, you know, to be able to get some of these things done. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, has there been any questions so far from the audience? Anyone ready? While they are coming, still on the practicalities, I want to ask this question. I've got a number or I've got a contact, the person knows me. What next? The person remembers me. And, you know, interesting enough, I've met people just once. Fortunately, not unfortunately, for my size, for example, or my physique, let me put it more appropriately, you can never forget me. But the question is, what next? What do I do with this opportunity God has given?
I'll say keep in touch with the people or the person. So one of the things I try to do personally is that once a while, for the people who are in my network, I check up on them. Nothing extraordinary, but then you shoot somebody a mail. Oh, hello, sir. I saw this article and I thought that it might interest you. I saw this this write-up and I thought it might interest you, you know, that kind of thing. So then they also keep you top of mind. So you need to keep the relationship going, not always going to ask them for something, but sometimes going to just say hello once a while, shooting them a mail, asking if there's anything that you can do for them. So let's say you see that they have an upcoming event or something. You send a mail and ask, is there anything that I can support you with? And when I say that, I am not talking about financial or anything like that. Sometimes they need people who will say post on their social media platforms. They need people who be at the event center to help with the setup, those kinds of things. So you reach out to them and then find out what you can.
Volunteering.
Yes, volunteering, what you can do to help them when they are having events and things like that. And out of the blue, shooting them a mail. Let me give you an example. So I have a friend who is a publisher, and he gives me a lot of work to do from time to time, but sometimes we lose track of each other for a while. Then what I do is I send him a WhatsApp message, because we have gotten to that level where I can send him a WhatsApp message. So I just send him a WhatsApp message. Oh, hello, sir, how are you doing? I hope you and the family are well. That's it.
I like that part.
And
You've gotten to that point where you can send WhatsApp message. It means it's in levels.
Yes. Yes.
So what level is
post.
that? That's probably like level 6.
For example, let me say I have Ato's number. I have Ato's number, but I won't say that I am at that level where I can send Ato a WhatsApp message. You get it? But I have Ato's email address also. So I can send Ato an email rather than a WhatsApp message.
Yeah. And then also in the cases where you are sending the WhatsApp messages, you just don't want to say, hello, how are you? If I don't know your number, you say, hello, how are you? I'll intentionally not respond to you for a day. You have to tell me who you are.
Forever.
You have to tell me who you are, right? Because you can't assume that I know who you are, and for me, I'm not even that busy. It's just by principle, you have to tell me who you are, right? For some people who are really busy, hello, how are you? You want me to come and respond first before you tell me who you are? I'm that busy. I'm not going to respond. So that's just something. And I think, but I think also when you're going to reach out to the contacts that you have, you need to go back to the connection, right? So if you're sending that email, you probably want to say, hello, I hope you're doing well. This is where I met you about this. And this is something that, was quite interesting. This is something that we talked about.
So it means that you should have made that impression so that he can still remember you. He or she can still remember you.
You mean from the email?
First meeting.
Yeah, yes. Definitely. The impression is key, but also in case they don't remember, is also to help remind.
Okay.
Right. So that I think that is really important in there. Because for me, I send a lot of intro emails to people, networking people. And I always talk about how I know that person, what I know about that person. So if I'm introducing one person A to person B, I'll tell person B that this is something about person A that you need to know. And that is why I'm doing this intro, right? So I think
there's a quick question here from Billy James Dega. He says, quick question. In Ghana, networking with the assistant is not that friendly, but meeting the main person is well accommodating. What do you do when networking with the assistants is just not working out? Okay,
so I hope he means that in the case where what the assistant is not friendly, but the main person.
Let me probably rephrase that. When the assistant is being bossy and being bossier than her boss or his boss, how do you handle that?
Yeah, I think if in that case, you know who the boss is, and you have a contact of the boss, you can also just reach out to the boss, right? In many cases, probably that is something that most people would do. I mentioned the assistants because of prioritizing the boss's time, right? And prioritizing the boss's calendar and, things like that. So, I guess in some cases, yes, there can be cases where the assistants are not that friendly and are not on top of their job. or, you know, something happened, I think you can definitely look at, I mean, there are other ways to reach out, right? If those ways are not reaching out and you really need to reach out to the person, you can start, you know, try to hit them up on LinkedIn, try to hit them up on social media. You can go the whole 9 yards.
Great.
You know, again,
you mentioned earlier.
Sorry, one
okay,
moment.
wrap up.
Again, because you have purpose, you're not worried about how unfriendly the networking the person's assistant is.
Almost
You have
cannot hear
purpose.
anymore.
So whatever you need to do to get what you need, whether it is you are able to figure out that the boss's friend is this person, right? And then you use that friend to talk to the boss, you do it. You don't make excuses about the person, the assistant is not friendly. At least that's the way I'll see it. And that's the way I'll go.
Let me add an example. So I did some work for Bloomberg about 3 years ago. We needed to speak to a minister. We had his assistant's number, but we'll call her 1,000 times, she won't pick up. So
welcome to Ghana.
Found a way of showing up in the office sometimes. And when you show up in the office and the minister is there, she will let you see the minister. She will create the time for you to see the minister. But aside that, one other thing that you can do is to find out who else knows the minister, who you can route your request to. So, like I just said, go the whole 9 yards. You can't give up because a few doors were closed to you.
Okay, so I want to digress slightly. Earlier on, you mentioned that it wasn't just about, you said networking isn't about who you know anymore. It's not about who knows you, and not just then, but now about what they know about you. Now, I'll ask this question. In somewhere 2015, sorry, I attended a program organized by Randy Osai, Reverend now. It was a spiritual entrepreneurs network. And of course, I didn't do any connections there, but I'll confess. I happened to listen to something that made an impression on me. And this was Jibodi Dosu of Alio. And she said something. She said, if your name doesn't come up when there's a problem in the boardroom, you haven't started doing business. It's stuck here. And I keep asking myself, how can I make my name appear in the boardroom? I look at even those who are connected to this chat right now. There's so many of them who I need them to remember me in their boardroom. How do I make myself relevant? From the point I met you and made a good impression to where I've not reached the level where I can take you out and send you WhatsApp to go and buy fufu, etc. How do I go the whole 9 yards and make sure you still remember me at that critical point?
Let people know you for the problems you can solve. Very, very simple.
You make it sound easy.
Yes, because they are mentioning you in the boardroom because they are discussing something, an issue has come up, and they're like, it seems that guy can work on it. That's why they're talking about you in the boardroom. Okay, so let people know the kinds of problems that you can solve. Very simple. I mean, you can think of that in any way you want to think about it.
Straightforward. So in my hello, hi, always checking up on the person. Please.
Let me add something, Harold. And Atul says it very well. It might not be in that you have done work for them necessarily. But for example, what do you use your social media handles for? Do you talk about what you do and how well you do it? That way, when something comes up and they're looking for somebody, they know that, oh, I know this person who says they do A, B, C, D. So those are the ways to promote yourself, quote and unquote, like let people know what you do.
Okay, so let's take that onto social media. How do I keep myself informed? Because there's something I noticed, and a couple of friends, we used to joke about that a lot. Now, believe it or not, all I need to do, and I'm saying this on authority, get up, start making a couple of posts here and there. I was privileged to go and meet the minister of this. Yesterday, I met some girls and I paid their cocoa money for them, etc. Before you are aware, you are in 30 under 30 influencers. I'm not saying this, forgive me, anybody, but this is happening. This is really happening. I know that's why you're laughing. And the question is, I see people every minute, I was privileged doing this. And my Ghanaian culture says, don't put yourself out there, be humble, be content. Where do you draw the line?
It's funny how you keep on coming back to Ghanaian culture.
Because
Can we accept that Ghanaian culture is not perfect and it needs
very much?
Yes.
Very
So for me, it's not about referring to Ghanaian culture.
Ghanaian culture is not that limited.
I mean,
forgive me, gods of the land, forgive me.
No. The gods of the land understand. The gods of the land who want Ghana to improve understand. Those who don't want Ghana to improve don't understand. Right? So, I mean, I think no, I mean, it's better to do that than many of the things that people do on social media.
Okay.
It's better to do than many of the things that people do on social media. I mean, we could talk about the issue of hype, right? So that can be an issue here. But again, if you're hyping yourself and there's an opportunity for you and you can't take it, your hype is not solid at that point, right? And also, because we are aware of some of these things, people would also be a bit more mindful about hype, right? So fine, maybe the hype is to give you a chance. Could you deliver? After you've delivered, then you have moved up in my network, and the next time the opportunity comes, I'm talking to you, right? So, I mean, I don't think it's something that maybe we should discourage people from doing. Obviously, people should do it ethically. People should do it truthfully. People should be honest about it. You know, because if it can catch up to you, right? And I'm interested in rooting out people who are fraudulent and people who hype themselves up and they are not what they are. There have been several examples in Ghana of young people who have tried to do that. And I'm amongst the people who are trying to let people understand that these people are telling lies. Because there are honest, ethical people who are working hard in our country to be able to do well as young people. And we can't allow others to come and hype themselves up without substance. It doesn't speak well of us as youth, right? So that is, again, you could tell me that that's something we should not do in Ghanaian culture, but I'll totally disagree with you, right? Yeah.
Great. Pauline, are you going to share something?
Oh no, I think that Ato has covered it. Just make sure that whatever you say you can do, you actually can do. Because when you are called to do it and you cannot do it, the disgrace will be much more than what you just posted that you can do. And then again, I think that you need to have these days in HR language, they call sponsors.
Okay.
So there are people that know your capabilities and the things that you can do, who can mention your name in the boardroom. So now people are not just talking about mentors, but they are talking about sponsors, people who will mention your name in the boardroom because they know what you can do. They have worked with you. They know your capabilities. So they can mention in the boardroom that if you are looking for this kind of person, I know just who to recommend, and then they can recommend you.
Can you just touch a bit on the sponsors? Are you in Christian circles? We have things people we call spiritual fathers and mothers. Are those what you're referring to?
That one is spiritual. This one is physical. So sponsors are basically people you have worked with, but who are higher up the corporate ladder than you. And so they know what you can do. So it's not just about grace, like we say in Christian parlance. So it's not just grace. They have worked with you. They know what you can do. And so they mention you at the right places for the right opportunities when they come up.
How do I maintain relationships with them? And I'm saying this for a reason. Again, back to Christianity. If I want to have someone up there who will be a papa to me or a mama to me, I must be willing to be sowing seeds into their lives and be boboing myself to them. So the boboing is a Ghanaian term, you know. myself to them and etc. How do I maintain this kind of relationship?
So what I'll say is, normally at this point that we are talking about, you probably have their WhatsApp, right?
Okay. You've reached level 6.
Yeah, and hopefully they've saved your number. Okay. if they've not saved your number, even if they've not saved your number, like if you send them a new message and they went to old messages, they could know who you were, right? So for me, I think a couple of things here. You want to follow what that person is doing, right? And be aware of what is happening in that person's professional life, okay? And then every now and then, you reach out to them about something that you've heard has happened in their professional life, okay? At least, because it's interesting, Paulina talking about the sponsor idea. I mean, for me, I'll talk more about mentors or role models in a sense, right? But role models that I know and they know me, okay? So what I normally do is I follow a lot of what they do. And if something happens that is interesting, I reach out to them saying that I heard about this or I saw this, and I will say something about it to them, right? Sometimes it could be what I liked. Sometimes it could be what I thought could be improved. But whatever it is, I say it to them, right? To continue to engage. So I think, you want to follow and you want to have that kind of relationship where, I mean, maybe sometimes it depends on who some of these people are, right? They might be big, but they still want to learn. They are still trying to improve. They are still trying to work on something, get better at something else, right? So even the way you engage them helps them learn something new. Okay, so maybe, I think underlining all of this, like how do you continue to add value to people in your network, right? So that they continue to help you, and they can even, like Paulina said, sponsor, get others to help you do things that they can't help you do.
Yeah. Okay. Now, again, so for our audience, please, you can send your questions. We'll be wrapping up in a couple of minutes. If we were in court, we would have asked you to do your closing arguments, but we are not in court. And so I'd ask you to wrap the discussion, summarize them for us. But what I want to know is, if you look at the posters that went out about this program, we mentioned there how to build your net worth, What is the net worth and what are we trying to build? Paulina.
So your net worth is the value that your net worth brings.
Wait, pause,
we began by saying, for example.
Let me write that down. The value that your network brings.
Yes.
Amazing. Please go ahead.
So, for example, if I know Ato, what can Ato do for me? What doors can Ato open for me? Those are the important things. And we have talked about examples of how our network has helped us earn money, for example, and sometimes for me, even open opportunities for even the institution that I work for. So that for me is the value that my network brings, because they know me. And like Ato says, they know what I can do. They are able to say that this opportunity, Paulina will best fit it. This opportunity, Harold will best fit it. And it brings you not just monetary reward, but sometimes also experience, or even giving you a platform that hitherto you didn't have, to share your ideas and for people to know what you do. thereby expanding your network the more.
Yeah.
Amazing. Atu?
So I think something interesting around the network and the net worth is sometimes just your ability to be resourceful. So I'll give a quick example. Let's say I know someone, they're trying to do a research project. Okay. I've done some research, but maybe I wouldn't have the time to participate in this research. But I can give that person 3 people who can do the research. That's part of my net worth, right? Maybe the person won't pay me to get those 3 people, but next time they might, because of how much they value what I'm able to do for them, right? So, so you could just think of that as there's monetary value to that. There is the ability to deliver, which will bring monetary value or recognition later, right? Or just even the idea that this person can help me, right? And sometimes it also works the other way. I have a network. I know people who do research. I'm looking for opportunities to get them things to do, right? With better organizations than maybe the ones that they're already working with, or better opportunities that can help them get into, you know, better pay or better remuneration later, right? So those are just a few ways how, you know, having a good network or a strong network or a big network shows in your net worth, right? Because also, as my network grows, I can start charging more for different things, right? So at first, I used to charge this for that, but I've been recommended so much. I have so much work to do. I have to choose which of the clients to work with, and I can charge more. You know, so that's just another example of how your network builds a network. Yeah.
Okay. Is networking expensive?
Okay. Is networking expensive? You're making me think about something my mentor and I were discussing the last time about expensive versus affordable. Yeah. So, I mean, if we say networking is expensive, it means that we value it highly and are willing to pay the price to network, right? So again, purpose. You're trying to build a network. You're trying to get somewhere. Billy is talking about trust. You know, we are trying to get to a point where your name is mentioned in the boardroom. That can be expensive, right? It might mean that in some cases, you have to pay to go to certain events, right? Where there are fewer people in the room, so you could meet that person that you wanted to talk to, who is coming to that event. Or, you know, we've talked about lunch, right? That's an expense. It's really expensive. So, I mean, I think networking could be expensive, but because of the ecosystem that we are in, and because of where we find ourselves, and I'm not referring to culture here, Harold, a lot of people do not tend to have a lot of money, right? So at Barcamps, we talk a lot about bootstrapping, about, you know, doing things in lean ways, about how can you spend less for maximum impact, right? So again, you can also look at how you can network without spending so much money, right? It's something that you could do. You could research, you figure out, you could talk to people. Yeah, so I think on the one hand, we could say networking is expensive, but you could also find ways to make it affordable for you.
Great. So in the absence of any other question, I've learned today about being nice, starting a conversation, being genuinely interested in the conversation. and in the person, not being in a hurry for the other person to finish and then try to just sell yourself out and then make a huge impression. I've also heard about, don't focus on collecting business cards. Rather think about having a connection, build a connection, a genuine one. And then finally, research more. And of course, there's go for lunch, eat fufu. Very important. Any other thing I've missed?
Purpose.
Sorry, how could I have missed that? Be purposeful, be purposeful, be purposeful. And being purposeful means probably being forceful.
Yeah.
Be determined
And
until you get where you went there.
One important thing that Paulina mentioned that I want to rehash is asking questions.
Asking questions.
Seriously, we have to get to the point where people stop complaining about someone is too known, because there are many too known people in Ghana. Right? We have to be curious. We have to ask questions, just for understanding, just for reasoning. You know, for me, it's just something I think we should do more. Right? It's just something I think we should do more. Yeah, so it's I hope more people will do it, so that, you know, those who do it are not that few. Yeah.
Daniel Kotai on Facebook says sometimes you have to network with the assistants. Golden point. Ellie Nam says very educative. Elsie Jasmine says insightful. And Billy says if trust is expensive, then networking is expensive on that level. On this note, without much ado, and if there's no further discussion, we'd want to draw the curtains here. I want to say or express my profound thanks to our panelists, Paulina and Ato. These are amazing people I have a lot of respect for. And to give me their time, it means a lot to me. I hope you've learned something out there. I hope you are going to be able to maximize and increase your net worth by networking and networking right.
Harold, in the spirit of networking, you should have gotten to know all the people who joined the call.
Very much, very much. Very much. So let's give quickly just 10 seconds each. Anyone who's willing, just tell us who you are, why you joined, any other thing we need to know about you. Anybody? Just raise your hands and I'll just let you speak. This is practical. Anybody? Okay, we have Ohenewa. Ohenewa, let's hear you, Ohenewa.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Gladys Ohenewa Astiedu. I'm a nurse by profession. I'm an esthetician in training, a medical esthetician in training. And I specialize in skincare, makeup, and hair care. So it's really nice to meet everyone. And I joined the meeting because business is something that I've realized I'm good at. And so I just wanted to come in and then understand and know the ins and outs to be a very successful business person.
Wow. Wow. Though you exceeded your 10 seconds, I'm sure you nailed it. This one will give you level 7 straight.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Well, I'm learning.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay, so we'll call it wraps. Thank you so much for being here. We'll meet again same time next month. We want to have a monthly dialogue. We want to delve deep, very informal. We want to have a discussion on how to build ourselves as business people in the corporate world. The very basic things that we may have escaped, probably because of culture, probably because of lack of exposure, or any other thing. So I wish you all the best and thank you for being a part of us. God bless you.
Thank you, and more of him.
More of him, exactly.